Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now this month's video I've chosen to do around imposter syndrome, and the reason for that is I've spoken to so many people over the last month or two that have been telling me they're feeling this exact same way, and I'm always completely honest in my videos. I have just come out of about 3 to 4 weeks of feeling exactly the same, but I'm starting to learn ways to cope with this. Imposter syndrome is something that's affected me on multiple occasions throughout my career, so I wanted to share those tips, share the advice, share the experiences I've gained in the hope that it can help other people tackle this horrible feeling and thing to go through. For anybody that isn't sure whether they have experienced imposter syndrome before, in a nutshell, imposter syndrome is when you feel like an absolute phony. You feel like you're not competent or good at what you do, and that literally any day people are going to discover that everything you've achieved is through luck, and basically that you are rubbish at your job. In reality, none of this is true. But when you are going through this, you cannot see that it's not true. It's something that you believe, and it creates a lot of worry and anxiety. It's horrible. Now, you're not alone in feeling like this, which is the other reason why I wanted to do this video. People may not talk about this a lot, but there are plenty of people that experience imposter syndrome. It doesn't matter how old you are, what job you're in, your level of seniority. This is something that affects a lot of people, so don't feel that you're alone. The good news is there are ways to tackle and deal with it. So I'm going to go through some tips that can help you recover and deal with imposter syndrome. All of the things I'm going to talk about are things that I have learned work by using it myself. They're not just things that I've come up with for the benefit of the video. They're tried and tested. So really give them a go and see if they work for you. Now, the first one is, and it sounds simple, speak to somebody. The biggest mistake I've made on multiple occasions is not opening up and talking about how I feel. I did it last month when I was feeling exactly the same way, kept it bottled up for weeks and weeks. And eventually, when I did speak to somebody, I felt so much better, so much better. And actually, it was the start of me getting over it and realizing that I was sucked into this kind of imposter syndrome mentality. So always speak to somebody. Now, in recruitment, you may have a manager that you're close to that you feel you can open up to. You may have a colleague, but it doesn't need to be somebody in work. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, because they're the people that see the reality of the situation. They see that you're great at your job. They see that you're not a phony. They see that everything you've achieved is through your hard work and graft. So it's great to talk, because not only are you offloading all the thoughts in your mind, you're decluttering your brain, you're also getting somebody to help you see the reality of things as well. Now, the benefit of you talking to a manager or somebody in work is, if this is work related, the imposter syndrome you're experiencing, they see every day what you're doing in your job. Sometimes just hearing a manager or a colleague say, "What are you on about? You're amazing at what you do," starts to get the wheels in motion to you realizing, actually, all these things that are going through my mind, they're not true and they're not my reality. Remember, it may not be immediately noticeable that you are experiencing these feelings and struggling. So unless you talk to somebody, they're not going to know, and they're not able to provide you with support. A lot of agencies now are brilliant at supporting people through these difficult times when you're struggling with things like your mental health, but it's not something that's visible. It's not like when you break your leg or you cut your skin. It's not a visible injury. When you are experiencing stuff in your mind, people can be very good at putting a persona out there to the people around them. So unless you speak to somebody about it, they aren't going to know and aren't going to be able to help you. I've always found journaling or writing down my feelings very helpful, and it's not something that I started doing until really last year. I wish I'd started doing it earlier. Do you ever get that feeling when your brain feels like it's just full to the brim? It's almost throbbing because it's so full of thoughts, feelings, worries, all these things. That's called cognitive overload. Now, if you can imagine a suitcase that you're trying to pack to go on holiday, there's only so much you can fill in that suitcase. And you can try and keep stuffing things in there, but ultimately the zip won't do up, it'll break. This is what cognitive overload is. Your brain can only take so much. So it's about unpacking the suitcase. Journaling and writing things down is great for that. You get to offload the thoughts, the feelings that you're experiencing, and writing them down on paper sometimes helps you see how unrealistic they are. If you're writing things down like, I'm rubbish at my job, it's just luck that got me here, I'm going to fail, I'm not successful, sometimes you see how severely unrealistic these things are and it can almost snap you out of it. But it just really helps for you to offload, especially if maybe you're at a point where you don't feel comfortable speaking to somebody. Speak to the journal, offload and put things down on paper. Look back over the information you've written down and say to yourself, how can I prove that is factually true? Anything that you've written down that you have no facts to prove that it's true, cross it out or put an X next to it, for example. I'm sure you'll find that the majority, if not all of the things you've written down, you've either crossed out or put a cross next to, because they're never things that are true when we have imposter syndrome. So it's great for you also analysing that and training your brain, getting it back into a positive mindset. Now, when we're experiencing imposter syndrome, the thoughts that are going through our brain are always negative. Like I've said before, I'm a phony, I'm rubbish at what I do, I'm not a successful recruitment consultant. They are all negative. Now, it's about turning these things into a positive. You can again write these things down, or it could just be internal chatter that you have with yourself, but start being really present to the thoughts that are going through your brain and turn those things into positive things and make sure they're present focused. So if you're thinking, I'm going to fail at filling this job, well, that's something in the future that you can't predict yet and it's negative. Change it to, I am filling the jobs, I am successful, or I have filled those vacancies. Turn it into something positive. If we keep thinking, I'm going to fail or I'm rubbish, it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy because our focus is on only negative things. We end up ignoring the positive and important aspects. I'm a big believer on whatever thoughts or behaviours you put out there, that is what you manifest and attract back to you. So start really thinking about what you're putting out there because you want to be attracting positive things. I always find it really helpful actually to say these things out loud to myself too. My neighbours must think I'm crazy because I'm always speaking to myself. I do it a lot in the car as well, but I will say things out loud because I find they resonate better. But you might find for you it's writing them down. So give it a go and see if it works. One thing that really, really helped me recover from the imposter syndrome I was feeling recently was going out for walks. I love being out in nature. I find it extremely relaxing, but also pretty empowering as well. And it really sorted me out. I was going for long walks, maybe after work when it was still light, at the weekends, sometimes with other people, sometimes on my own, but it really, really helped me to feel a lot better. I also like to de-stress by going to the gym. I'm somebody that likes active recovery from stress. So if you're the same, walking, going to the gym, it can be great for uplifting you, but also distracting your mind from whatever thoughts it was feeling before. If you're in the gym or on a walk, you're distracted by the nice scenery or how knackered you are while you're on the treadmill, for example. So it kind of takes you away from those feelings and snaps you out of it for a little bit. But whatever it is for you that you define as a break, do it. Because when you're feeling like that, that is what you need to recover. It could be that you need to maybe book some annual leave. Take a day off to de-stress and declutter your brain from these negative thoughts and feelings. The biggest thing I want to touch on though before I end this video is remember that your feelings are a reaction to what is going on in your mind. It is a reaction to your thoughts. So if you're feeling this way or feeling off, have a check-in on the thoughts that are going through your mind, because that is why you're feeling like that. It helps you start checking in with, well, hold on a minute, I'm telling myself some pretty negative stuff here. That isn't true. I need to change the way I'm thinking. But part of what will help you realise that is some of the tips I've given you today, but definitely speak to people as well. If you are going through this and you're struggling and you don't feel you've got somebody to speak to, please reach out to me. All my contact details are underneath in the description of this video. You can link in with me and message me directly on there. You can book a chat through my website. Please don't suffer in silence. Have a chat with me if you feel that you need to talk to somebody. I hope you've all enjoyed this month's video and benefited from it. I do have another video around dealing with stress and anxiety, which you may also find pretty useful if you are going through imposter syndrome. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I post free monthly videos on a range of topics around recruitment. But if you have any suggestions, I would love to hear them. Please add them in the comments box. I will see you next month.